I would say one of the big mistakes that I made was the Kickstarter marketing. Trademark as well. I spent a pretty significant amount of money. And so just do your research on your legal side. Like, make sure you get a good lawyer who is going to see it through and is going to get those trademarks for you.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? What was your job prior or right now, before owning your business, and what made you jump into Amazon and what inspired you to start your own Amazon side hustle?
Yeah, so ironically, I was working for Amazon as a program manager in the grocery division. So I was making a very solid living, and I was a part of the layoffs during that time. They were laying off, 10,000 people, 10,000 people, 10,000 people at a time, and our entire division got shut down. So everyone in my department, and they, moved our division to a different business unit. So I had 3 months severance pay, and I decided, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. My grandpa had his own advertising business. My uncle had his own solar business. So entrepreneurship kind of runs in the family, and I always wanted to start my own business. So I was like, what better time now? Let's take the 3 months severance pay and try and start something. So I was looking at all sorts of stuff from, real estate and wholesaling, during COVID, things were popping off in that, to, crypto, to any number of different things. But when I saw Travis's passion product videos, that felt like a good opportunity. Considering I was familiar with the platform, having worked for Amazon, I knew that a lot of people were being successful selling on Amazon. So I figured, why not me? And his program kind of helped you come to determine what kind of product you would sell. And so that was helpful to have that kind of guide along the way.
I love that. And I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. I myself, can relate to, wanting to start my business. I felt that entrepreneurial energy, and I can see that in you. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the product that you created, and why did you create this product?
Yeah, so I created a golf tee-based drinking game. So for the golfers out there, there's 18 tees in the golf tee-based drinking game kit, bogeys and beers here. And they each have a collection of jokes and challenges and drinking actions on them. And it's all about promoting good vibes out on the course, promoting good energy, even when your score is not going great. And the reason I created the product is because at the time I was getting married at the end of the year. So I had my bachelor party coming up. I, had a bunch of friends who, about a third of them were really good at golf. A third of them were not good at golf. And a third of them didn't really play golf at all. And I wanted to take these guys golfing on the bachelor party trip. And I was like, how can I get this range of different skill sets of golfers out on the course having fun? Because some people were like, I don't really want to play because I'm not very good, or I haven't played before. And I was like, look, this isn't about that. We're not out here, trying to be PGA Tour professionals. We're out here to have a laugh, have a drink, have a good time, and keep it moving. So the Bogeys and Beers was birthed out of that idea of, I want to have all my friends getting together, having fun out on the course, and not so score focused for the bachelor party.
I love that. That's such a intuitive or such a creative way to create a product that, that solved the problem for so many people. I have friends too who play golf. I don't play golf myself, and they're always asking, who wants to come play golf tomorrow, or who wants to come play golf with us next week? And they never find, like, not everyone plays golf. So I feel like that solves a problem for people to kind of bring in even people who are not good at golf, to just kind of bring them and still have a good time, and maybe learn golf along the way.
Sure. Yeah. A good entry point for people too. Yeah. If you like to have a good time, but you're a little iffy on golf, that could tip you over the edge. Definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything similar out there?
There are card games, like golf card games, where you pick a card and then you read what it says, and then, you have a laugh or do whatever it says on the card. But As a golfer myself, I wanted to blend, the purity of the game with, bringing people into the game. Some of these golf card games are like throw the ball with your left hand and stuff like this, and they're silly and they kind of distort what the game is. And I wanted to bring people in, but not distort the game. And I know some of those card games have wonky rules and they can kind of take extra time on each tee box. And so I was like, how can I bring people in, but also still respect the game and not slow down the pace of play on the golf course? So, people are already using golf tees out on the golf course. So, you step up to the tee, you pick a tee, you read the joke, you read the drinking action, you have a drink, you hit your tee shot, and you keep it moving. So it was a way to blend those two characteristics.
And did you do any market research to see like how many people are searching for this on Amazon or on the web?
Yeah, I looked at Helium 10. I can't remember the exact numbers, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 to 3,000 people were looking up golf game, kind of funny golf gift, golf novelty products. And then the two main players are bad cards for good golfers, I believe is one. And then I think Grizzly Golf or for golf. So I had seen these card games that were being successful, and I was like, these people are selling 100, 200, 300 units a month. It's like, why not me? I feel like a golf tee-based drinking game is a little more exciting than a card game. So I was like, why not?
And why did you come up with the name
Bogeys and Beers?
Bogeys and Beers? Yeah.
Just thought it had a nice ring to it. It kind of blends together the two elements that were important to me as far as, so it's a drinking game. So that's the beers part of it. And the bogeys is an homage to the fact that, you don't have to be a great golfer. It's not really about being a great golfer. If it was about being a great golfer, it would be called birdies and beers, because a birdie is a good score. A bogey is it's not a bad score, but it's your everyday score. Your average, once a month dad golfer score. So it's like, look, it's okay to have bogeys, have a drink, have a laugh. It doesn't really matter what your score is. Just make sure you're having a good time out there. So that was the elements I was trying to blend. And the alliteration was nice too.
Yeah. And did you come up with the design yourself?
Yeah. So I used a sign. I used a design website called 99 Designs. I believe that's what it's called. And so they helped me design, the packaging, and the logo and things of that nature. So yeah, I had a logo manufacturer and a packaging manufacturer and a packaging designer as well. So they helped with that. But I picked the colors. I spent 2 hours, trying to decide the exact shade of yellow, the exact shade of green. And golfers who are familiar with the game a little bit more will recognize that it's kind of like a Masters themed color scheme. So the Masters is the most famous golf tournament in golf. And so I tried to mirror those colors to just have that connection as well.
I see. Yeah, I don't know much about golf, so I'm not familiar, but I'm sure for like people who are golf fans, they're gonna resonate with that. So you put here that you spent 1,100 on design, packaging, and logo. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I know 99 Design cost about $200.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like for the logo, I spent $450. So I tried to use a kind of a cheaper company. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I think I spent $150 or $200 trying to get the logo designed, and I just wasn't getting what I wanted out of it. But I had a start, so I took the start and then I put that on, I believe 99 Designs, and yeah, I spent about $250 to get the logo finished. So the original 200 plus the 250 was the 450 for the logo. And then the package design was $649. I believe they have bronze, silver, and gold tiers. And the more money you pay, the more designers are interested in creating your designs, and the more designers are able to get into that pot and higher level designers. So I chose that silver design option. So I had multiple designers kind of bidding and giving me different options, and I ended up going with the one that I did. And yeah, that was $649.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. How many versions did they give you? Do you remember? Was it
I think we went through probably at least 7 or 8 different versions, I would say. It was a bit of a process. I mean, I would say we probably had 3 or 4 different versions to get the samples. And then after we created the samples, we did another 4 or 5 versions to get to the final product. So it went through iterations after creating the sample products.
Interesting. So the samples had your packaging included?
They did. I spent a lot of money on samples. I know I've seen a lot of other people. They're like, I spent $200, $300 on samples. I spent $1,100 on samples, and that's because it's a custom product with a custom box size. It's a very thick box, so it's got a premium look and feel to it, and it's got like kind of like a matte glossy finish to it. So yeah, I had I believe 4 or 5 different packaging manufacturers send me samples, and then I had 2 tea manufacturers send me samples, because each tea has a specific message on it. So in hindsight, like, could I have done, written down on little pieces of paper and given that out as samples? I could have, but the way I was thinking about it is I don't want to be a card game, so I don't want my samples to be a card game. So I wanted my samples to be the actual teas with the messages on them, to get an honest reaction to a more authentic version of what the product would look like. And since there's 18 different teas, each one with a custom message on it, it was, I believe, $45 or $50 per tea just to get the custom message on there for the samples. So yeah, it was definitely a process, but I think I ended up with a great product out of it.
How did you find your manufacturer?
So I used Alibaba to find my manufacturer. So I typed in, packaging manufacturers, because I tried to do it in America, and they wanted, $10, $11 per box. I looked at Taiwan, I looked at a number of different places, and they all wanted, $8 plus per box. So China was the only place that I could get the premium product at a price that would make the whole package affordable accessible to the average golfer who doesn't want to pay $50 for a novelty product. So yeah, I found the manufacturers for the packaging on Alibaba, and then the golf tee manufacturers on Alibaba as well. And then I had when I did the production run, I had the packaging manufacturer complete first, and then ship the boxes to the tea manufacturer, and then the tea manufacturer put the teas in the holes. So you might not be able to see the product, but there's golf tees in here. So each one has a custom message on it, and then it goes directly in one of these slots here in the game. So.
And what made you decide which manufacturer to go with? Was it price, communication, MOQ? What was the
decision? I would say a combination of all the different factors. Definitely communication was big. They were price comparable. They weren't the cheapest, but they had the best product, and that was the most important thing. Is this product has to be excellent as far as the manufacturing and the quality of it. And so I didn't skimp on that. And so yeah, that was the main concern for me.
Cool. And did you run into any big issues that happened during manufacturing?
As far as manufacturing went, I believe the first run we had some quality issues with the teas. But I was that was during the samples, excuse me. There were some quality issues with the teas, but when we did the actual production run, we were able to remove those quality issues just by pointing out them. Some of the engraving and the words on the tees, because it's such a small product, was not showing up as clearly as I would have liked. So we set a quality standard for kind of the visibility of each tee. And so if we had any that didn't meet those specifications for quality, then they just trashed those. And so we were able to kind of quality screen and get the proper visibility of the words on the tees. So that was helpful. And yeah, the boxes, we did have a quality issue with the boxes as well, but again, we were able to work that out in the manufacturing process. There's actually a magnetic strip on this, and so the magnetic strip was not sealing properly, but in the actual production run, we were able to work that out. So again, another reason why I thought spending the extra money on the samples was so important, because I was able to work out a lot of the quality issues and get more honest customer feedback about, the value of the product.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Did you hire an inspector at all during production?
I did not hire an inspector during production. I had the first shipment actually was sent directly to me instead of Amazon. So I was able to do kind of a quality check. But again, I was working closely and communicating closely with the manufacturer, and we had kind of a checklist or a punch list, if you will, of all the quality aspects that we wanted to be considered. And so they were doing their own inspection internally, and then I reviewed the products as well before I shipped them to Amazon.
Nice. And did you ship them by sea or by air?
The first shipment, I did a third by air, 2/3 by sea. And so obviously the air was significantly more expensive, but we were running up against the deadline. I had a Kickstarter that I was launching. And then I also wanted to have the product available for the holidays. So I launched on Amazon in November. So even though it was more expensive, it was worth it to get the products shipped by air. And then from there on out, I've tried to use sea whenever possible, but I did run into some production issues, not production issues, just logistical timeline issues where I was running out of inventory. And so I needed to ship air to get the product in stock as soon as possible. But now that I've dealt with kind of those logistical issues and understand what my kind of monthly run rate is, I've been able to sort that out and have since started shipping by sea.
Do you remember how much it cost you to ship by air versus by sea?
I
At
believe
least
it
for the
was,
first shipment.
yeah, about $7 per kilogram. I'd have to look up the exact number for that initial shipment, but I would say it was at least 2 to 3 times as expensive. I think it was $2 to $3 by sea, maybe even a little bit less than that. And it was like $6 or $7 by, fast air to get the product within 7 days, let's say, via air.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about Kickstarter. You mentioned Kickstarter twice. Tell me about your Kickstarter campaign. How did that go? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so there was some positives and negatives. I learned a lot. So I was listening to some podcasts about the Kickstarters, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to build some hype and maybe like a fan base before the product went on Amazon. And so that would enable me to have a really killer first month on Amazon and skyrocket me through the rankings. That was the goal. So I ended up paying a significant amount of money. I believe it was $3,000 for like this Kickstarter guru who had his own podcast to kind of guide me through that process and help me with, email marketing and collecting emails and, send and getting people hyped about the Kickstarter so that when we launched, it would be very successful. In addition to the Kickstarter guru that I paid on my own, I created a Facebook group for the product launch. And that's how I found the people to send the samples to, was friends and family and friends of friends and family. And so that was more organic, the Facebook group. And so the unfortunate thing is the Kickstarter guru guy was kind of a scam, and I did collect emails, but they didn't convert, and there was no kind of support on that end. I understand that, he can't control certain aspects, but I just thought that the support that was given was not anywhere near equivalent to the money that was paid, and ended up
Mm.
netting almost no sales. So I did have I believe it was about a $4,000 Kickstarter, but the majority of that was people through the Facebook group, and friends and family. So friends and family came through to support, but yeah, the Kickstarter guru and the email marketing did not. So it was probably a wash because I spent so much on the Kickstarter guru marketing. So I would definitely recommend going as organic as possible at first, and not sinking a bunch of money into, experimental marketing on the
Mm.
Kickstarter campaign. Because in my experience, that did not pan out. And if the product is good, your friends and family will be there to support, and you can spread the message that way.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, like, what are some lessons that you can give us from your experience with Kickstarter, and for someone who just wants to start a Kickstarter campaign, have no experience, how do you recommend they go about that? Like, what are some steps they should take initially before launching their campaign?
Yeah, before you launch your Kickstarter campaign, I would definitely create a Facebook launch group, and you know, have your friends and family kind of become a part of creating the product, because I thought that was super helpful. Like, I had friends and family. I told them I was, creating this game, and got some excitement. I have a bunch of friends and family who are golfers, so they all joined, and they were kind of they voted on the logo design, and they voted on the package design, and so they kind of helped co-create the product. And when people are a part of something like that, they get more invested, and it usually is a better product when you're getting more feedback instead of just trying to create it in a bubble. So not only were they the first supporters on Kickstarter, but they were kind of the co-creators of the product. They were the people I gave the first samples to, and so I was constantly giving them updates about where I was. And people like to follow a journey, and they like to follow the journey of their friends and family who are doing something interesting. So I would definitely not waste that opportunity to bring in your circle and make them a part of your journey, and have them be your first loyal fans, and possibly even customers. And then if they like the product, they'll share it with their friends and family, and so on.
Mhm. Yeah. No, that's definitely important. In the beginning, you need friends and family to support you, to give you that initial kick. And, if it can grow outside of that organically, that's the goal. I think.
Yeah, and I did a video, and I spend a little. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a video, but have it edit. I mean, some people get on Kickstarter and they just do one take. They don't even edit it, and it does pretty successful. So I don't think you need to. If I was talking to someone who is starting a Kickstarter, I just start taking actions. Don't get caught up in, I need to have this whole like marketing campaign, and I need to have this like extremely high quality video. Like, people understand it's Kickstarter, it's a startup. Talk about your product, showcase your product in the video, but you don't have to spend a ton of money on these things. Like, the most important thing is to get your product out there, to get the Kickstarter out there, and try and build up 200-300 person Facebook launch group to help be the first people who are going to invest and purchase the game. And then if you reach a critical mass, then Kickstarter will organically start showing it to other people.
Yeah. And did you start an LLC for your product?
Yes, I did an LLC. I believe that was I think I did a DBA that was $50. And then I was like, mine's a golf tee based drinking game. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get sued. I very clearly state, please play responsibly, 21 and up, all of that stuff. But, I worried about that. So I ended up creating the LLC after the DBA. So I think it was $200 total for the DBA and the LLC.
Nice. Yeah. It's important to protect yourself. You don't know what people are going to do out there on the field.
Yep.
And I'm guessing you got one UPC code because you have one SKU. And did you get that from GS1?
Yep, I got it from GS1. I got one UPC code for the game initially. And then as a part of the Kickstarter, for those higher dollar packages, I had, you can buy 1 game, 2 games, 4 games. And then I had like some add-ons merchandise. I had a ball marker, and then I had a hat as well. So my Facebook launch group actually helped me create my hat. So I didn't even have my hat designed. I just said, you'll get 1 hat, with the Kickstarter if you purchase it as an add-on. And then the Facebook group helped me actually design the hat. And so we ended up having a second UPC code for the Bogies and Beers hat, but that came a couple months later.
I like the hat design. It's pretty neat.
Thank you. Yeah. I actually, God, I should know the name of this company right now, but there is a super high quality hat company. And I was with my wife. We were at an outdoor store, and I was trying on all the hats, trying to figure out what kind of material I wanted to use for my hat. And even like big tournaments and organizations use really crappy hat materials. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to have a really high quality hat. So I found the highest quality hats that I enjoyed the most. And I ended up finding a manufacturer who could use the exact materials as the brands that I liked the best that were selling them for $70 a hat. And so I was able to use the exact same material. So it's a very high quality hat. One of the things that I don't like about hats is when this front part crumbles in. And, it kind of crumples and it doesn't look very good. So I made sure, this part was very sturdy. There's the breathability, because it's a performance hat. So it's moisture wicking, anti-sweat, just helps cool you down. So all the things that I would want in kind of a performance hat, we put into this one, in addition to high quality materials. And as we can talk about later on or whenever you'd like to, the hats ended up becoming the best seller and outselling the game later on the journey. So something I did not expect, but was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that in a second. But before we jump into that, tell me about like maybe 3 mistakes that cost you money that you think that you would have done differently if you started from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the big mistakes that I made was the Kickstarter marketing. And so spending $3,000 on, a Kickstarter marketing campaign was completely over the top, unnecessary, and did not net me hardly any sales, maybe less than 5 sales. So I would say bootstrap everything in the beginning, find out if you have product market fit, get a small number of your games or whatever your product is out into the marketplace, maybe 500 or less, but don't get too many because you don't know how that's going to work and if you're going to need to change things. And but the biggest thing is don't overspend on Kickstarter. I would say that cost me about $3,000. I would say trademark as well. I spent a pretty significant amount of money. I used LegalZoom for the trademark and spent $1,100. And then there were some issues with the trademark, so I had to get another lawyer, and I ended up using the cheapest lawyer I could, and that ended up being a mistake because she had to file some responses to actions from the trademark committee who wanted some legal arguments about how my trademark was different from another one. And so just do your research on your legal side, like make sure you get a good lawyer who is going to see it through and is going to get those trademarks for you. And, maybe do a small retainer up front. Don't pay all the money up front for a service that you don't know if they're going to execute on, and make the fees contingent upon a trademark approval if you can, because I got into that situation where you're paying for something and then the trademark's not getting approved. And they're saying they can get it approved, but they're asking for more money. So don't get yourself in a situation. Make sure you know the timeline, it's contingent upon approval, and then give a retainer up front, but make the rest of the money conditional on approval. So you're not chasing down money, bad money.
So initially you got your trademark through LegalZoom, and there was an issue there.
So I got my trademark. So I had a trademark for 19th hole golf and bogeys and beers. And yes, I got one of my trademarks through LegalZoom. The bogeys and beers trademark I did on my own. And essentially the USPTO will give you conditional approval until they have a chance to review it. So I was initially approved conditionally, and then they didn't deny the trademark, but they requested additional legal arguments to approve it, confirm the temporary approval. And I wasn't in a position to make those arguments. LegalZoom wanted more money. I ended up getting another lawyer, and she, again, just did not follow through on what she said she was going to do. She didn't communicate well. She didn't do things when she said she was going to do them. She didn't end up getting me those approvals either. So I spent probably $2,400 on trademarks that, if I had just paid a little bit more money, done a little bit more research, done it slightly differently, I could have avoided that situation entirely. And, it's just, you got to know where to spend money and where to skimp, and skimping on the trademark side, I think, is a mistake. I mean, if there's absolutely nothing competing with you and there's nothing similar, there's actually videos you can read or watch online about how to file a trademark on your own without a lawyer. And I would recommend doing that if you feel like you have the capacity to do that. But if there's any kind of nuance to it and someone has a mark that might be similar to yours, you're going to need a lawyer. And I would recommend, doing some research and getting some referrals and finding a good lawyer, and just making that not a headache for you in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good advice.
And then I guess the third thing would be marketing. I kind of underestimated the importance of marketing, and I have used some PPC and had some success with that, which has been great. But, social media, if you're good at social media, or if you can figure that out, that I did not come in with that skill set. It's still a skill set that I'm building, but I'm thinking, you build a great product, people will come. But if it's kind of a little bit of a unique product, even if it's not, to get your name out there, it helps to have a social media presence. It can be a lot of organic traffic you can drive to your website. So I would say, you can never start your community building soon enough. You can never market enough. So I would say, do not underestimate the importance of that. Building your product is maybe 30% of the battle. I would say marketing is 65% of the battle. Is you just got to get it out there, let people know about it, get people excited about it. So I didn't start my community building till just before my Kickstarter, and then also kind of struggled just with not having that skill set. So if there's a way to, you have friends or family, or that's a skill set of yours, I'd say that's a huge advantage when starting a company.
Yeah, marketing is huge. I mean, it's basically the fuel of any business. And I feel like, when we start an Amazon business, we have to wear many hats in the beginning, and we have to learn how to do every little thing, at least a little bit. We don't have to be perfect at it, but we have to be slightly good at it in the beginning. And once your product is out there and you're making a little bit of money, then you can outsource it or have someone manage the marketing for you. And I want to get into the launch of your product. Like, you put in all this hard work, everything we just talked about, that's a journey by itself, all of it leads to launch time. So I believe you launched in, you said November of 2023.
Yep.
So
exactly
tell me,
a year ago. Yeah.
Exactly a year ago. So tell me how you felt at the time, and how did your first month go?
Yeah, I was definitely excited and nervous, after I was laid off around March, and then I started working on the product in April, and then getting samples, all of this stuff. So, about 6 months of time before the launch put in. And so, yeah, excited and nervous, I would say, was how I felt. The Kickstarter did fairly well. I believe I did about $4,100 in kind of Kickstarter. So that was pretty good. Again, I lost a lot of that to the Amazon marketing guru thing that I should not have. But but yeah, I was pretty pleased with how much support I received, and I created a few high dollar packages that a few friends took, some $500 packages. So don't be afraid to kind of, provide the value, but you can have create creative opportunities for people to support you, and you'd be surprised who will come forward. One of mine was if you pay $500, you get to design one of the tees, co-design one of the tees with me to, put your own jokes and challenges or drinking actions on there. In addition to, getting the hats and getting a number of the games. So yeah, I think I had two $500 packages, and they both got snatched up pretty immediately. So
Nice.
if you create something like that, people will surprise you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to put something out there that's like high ticket, and you never know, people might get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, and I believe I did around $400 on Amazon after the Kickstarter. And again, this was halfway through the month, probably, or maybe even towards the very end of the month. So, yeah, I was pleased with the start I got on Kickstarter and on Amazon, and wanted to build on that.
Nice. And how did you do in your second month?
So my second month was exclusively on Amazon. I did $980 in revenue, and I sold 35 units, and that was about $500 of profit in my second month.
Nice.
So that was a positive sign. I was, getting reviews and things of that nature. So that was helpful. All 5-star reviews, and things were looking up. But at the end of December, I ran into some trouble. And that is when my listing was suppressed by Amazon for having alcohol related content on it. And so they really stemmed the flow of organic traffic. So it was only people that I was driving there myself that were actually going to the listing and buying it. Amazon was not sharing the listing. I mean, if you typed in bogeys and beers, it would still come up, but they weren't organically showing it to anyone in the buy box, or they weren't letting me use PPC to advertise, to show up at the top. Based on keywords. So that was pretty crushing. And that led to only 15 units being sold in January. And that was perhaps a low point, I would say, where you're like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time and money and effort and energy on this product, and now it's being suppressed, and there's no organic traffic, and there's no way to advertise it on Amazon. That was tough.
That is tough. And I personally dealt with that myself. So I know exactly how it feels. You spend so much time and energy and money on making this product. And, next thing you find out, Amazon does not want you to advertise this or can't do any ad campaigns. Were you able to resolve this issue at all?
So I was not able to. I have some plans to potentially kind of remarket it as just kind of more of like funny novelty golf tees, and not like a golf tee based drinking game. So that is the next step for me, but I am actually still suppressed for the Bogeys and Beers game on Amazon. I was able to sell organically kind of in my local market to local pro shops and things of that nature. So I was able to use other avenues. But what ended up being a big surprise is the hats. And I ended up doing a micro production run of 50 hats, and they went on Amazon in March, and the hats sold out within 1 week. So I made $1,152 in revenue and $600 in profit on the hats. And I had a few that went to Kickstarter people, and I took the remainder, I put them on Amazon, and they sold out like that. It was unbelievable.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
The product that you created as a gift product became the main product.
I was crazy. Yeah, I did not expect it at all. So I think people just resonated with the name. You know, they liked the design of the hat, and then Bogies and Beers is kind of a funny hat title to wear when you're out on the golf course. I will say I wear that hat not every time, but most of the time when I go to the golf course, I wear the Bogies and Beers hat, and rarely does a time go by where no one comments. It's either the
Wow.
cart girl or the pro shop guy or someone I'm playing with. Everyone comments on the hat. People love the hat. So I think I just got kind of lucky with that.
I love it. So tell me how's the hat doing after that?
Yeah, so the hat is doing quite well. Let's see. I'm looking at my revenue here. So I ran out of the hats because I just didn't expect them to sell so much. So I believe I got the hats restocked towards the end of June. And then my listing went down because, I was out of stock for a couple months. So that hurts you from a search perspective. But yeah, I did $1,264 in revenue in June. I did $2,500 worth of revenue in July, and I did $3,500 worth of revenue in August. So kind of a slow and steady climb back through the rankings. And let's see, this month, October, the last month, I did $3,700 in revenue and over $2,000 in profit. And I would say 95% of that revenue is hat revenue.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you weren't spending any PPC till now?
I did not spend any PPC until October. I started experimenting with PPC just for the hat because I'm allowed to advertise the hat, just not the game. And so I spent maybe $300 on PPC in October, and that definitely led to an increase in sales. I was doing maybe 3 sales a day, something like that, of the hat. And then when I started advertising, I was doing 6, 7. I had a day where I sold, I think, 12 hats, 15 hats, something like that. So I had weeks where I was selling, $1,500 worth of hats on PPC. So it's called your ROAS, your return on ad spend. It started out somewhere near 40 or something. The first day I started using PPC, I sold like $500 worth of hats, but that slowly settled more towards the mean. So it started to go down more towards a ROAS of 4 to 1. So for every dollar I spent on advertising, I'd sell $4 worth of hats. And so I'm in the process of kind of trying to fine tune which keywords I'm going to advertise and not do it so broadly, so I can really maximize that ROAS and get it back up a little bit higher than where it is. Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. Congratulations, James. That's an awesome journey.
Thank you. Yeah. It just goes to show you gotta be flexible and, with changing business environment and circumstances, and be willing to pivot. And yeah, just very unexpected situation, but very, very pleased with where the business is at. It's not replacing a full-time income by any stretch, but it's a very nice side hustle.
Totally. And do you feel like the passion product formula helped you with, launching the business? What is your feedback on the course?
Yeah, I got a ton of value out of the course, I would say. So, Travis has his free courses, and that got me really interested. And then you just dive deeper with the paid course, and you get a little bit more information and access to worksheets. And I used a lot of the worksheets. He has worksheets for, how to project your startup costs, how to project your monthly revenue and your monthly profit, how to go about, figuring out which keywords to target, everything from start to finish of how to get your product from idea to actually selling on Amazon. So I'm a little bit ADD, and there's a bunch of free stuff out there, and you can go a number of different directions, but it's nice to just have someone that you trust, and he's giving you each step of the way, so you don't have to feel lost in the process of what do I do next, or what order do I do this in. So I think going through the course gave me a lot of confidence that this was something that I could do. And then in addition to that, the weekly calls that we have are super beneficial. So Travis has the weekly call where either himself or one of his experts who's sold significant amount of product on Amazon will be there to answer any questions depending on which step you're in. So I learned a lot listening to other people's questions and then positing my own based on where I was at. So yeah, the value there was pretty enormous. And I feel like probably would not be as successful as it is right there. Maybe I would have just never even launched without the passion product formula course.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you coming on here today and sharing all of this. And I want to congratulate you on all, on doing all of this and the success you had. This is really cool. And I wish you a lot more success with Boogie and Hat. Sounds like you got a winning product there.
Yeah. Thank you, Camel. Appreciate it. Pleasure being on here.